These guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording on Saturday, June 3rd, with surprisingly plenty of Celtics content to bring you guys today. We just experimented and we're starting to do some more reaction content on the channel too. So hopefully for the summer, unless we get busy or we miss a day or something, you should
People like it.
You should see a new video on the channel every day this summer. So hopefully we'll have that for you. We actually did come up with a schedule, so we'll tell you now early into the video, the podcast. We plan to drop podcasts Sunday, which is when you're hearing this, Tuesdays and Thursdays, all summer long, all off season long. Maybe we'll sprinkle in some extra stuff in there too, in terms of, if there's free agency, if there's breaking news, maybe we'll do like a 30-minute, 20-minute, hit podcast for you guys. But those are the main days. And then on top of that, like I said, we're doing reaction videos every day. So you'll see a new video on the channel every day as well. And did we decide a day we want to do streams? I don't know if we thought
we
of
have
that.
Not yet.
But I think we want to do at least once a week, ideally, would be good. For
it might be different stuff. Whether it's just us talking or play Xbox or whatever.
We're aiming to throw some streams in there as well. But anyways, Celtics content today. Let's start off with some news from Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype today. The Celtics are losing assistant coaches from their staff. We touched on this the last time we did a show.
It was rumored.
I believe, because there was some smoke around it. Ime Udoka stealing guys from the Celtics organization. I say stealing not in like a rude way, just like taking his guys back because he brought.
It might be rude. There might be some ill will. Like he might feel like he got slighted, so he's stealing the coaches. Essentially, Ben Sullivan and the boys get ready to learn Texas, buddy.
He's taken his guys back because a lot of them came to Boston because of Ime Udoka,
which makes sense.
Exactly. Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype saying sources: Celtics assistants Ben Sullivan, Mike Moser, and Garrett Jackson. We knew about Sullivan and Moser, didn't know about Jackson just yet. Are joining Ime Udoka's staff on the Rockets. A Celtics assistant Aaron Miles has also drawn interest from the Rockets and other teams. And then Jarrell Christian, who I believe is the general manager of the Maine Celtics, is also drawing interest elsewhere. So it sounds like the Celtics staff, the Celtics, faculty is getting picked apart this summer, it's not a good start. It's not a good start.
That's okay.
Yes.
If I had to choose any part of the Celtics team to get picked apart, I would choose the assistant coaches. Like I'd rather see the assistant coaches go than the front office. I'd rather see the assistant coaches go than the players. So not off to the worst start, actually. And plus, there are some interesting names out there. Steven Silas is seemingly going to be on the staff.
I was just going to say, and we're going to talk about Brad's presser, but like bleeding in when we're talking about Celtics assistants, he said, moving forward, we'll have at least, and then he paused, we'll see how everything shakes itself out, but we'll have at least one addition that we'll make, that we have a summer to make it, and then we'll go from there. I have to assume that's probably Steven Silas he's talking about, right?
Hopefully
like bringing him on
one.
board. Yeah.
It would be kind of funny if the Celtics just trotted out a two-man coaching staff.
Yeah, no, there has to be more than one coming this summer.
It's just Joe and Steven Silas on the bench, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to know that they want to bring somebody in. Brad also saying we'll look for somebody that has a lot of NBA experience for sure.
You know who that
Steven
might
Silas,
be?
Maybe. Who is this?
I don't know if you've seen the.
I have
the pitter patter on Twitter, but
yep.
Now I've seen like people tweet like source says, and then Rondo might join the coaching staff. But it's just like some fan account saying source. So I don't think it's true.
I don't believe it.
But I don't know if I came on the pod and said this, but this is something I texted Jack about. And and when I think it was like the Celtics were down 3-0, I was like, if they get rid of Joe, do you think like maybe they bring in Rondo to coach this team? And the answer is obviously no.
Yeah.
As we get into that Brad presser, Joe is staying. That's what he said. Brad was like, yes, he's going to be the coach next year. So if you don't like Joe, sorry, get the tissues. But aside from that, he did say they're going to bring in assistant coaches.
Yeah, which is
so
good.
I was like, oh, maybe they make Rondo the head coach. Like he knows ball. He played on this team, won a championship, and he's
the head coach.
Oh, not right now. They're not going to bring him as head coach.
I thought you said the head coach. I was like, no.
Well, back when I was texting you, I was like, maybe they do this. Like this was.
I don't think Rondo joins. I don't know if he's.
Who knows?
I think there's a fine line between, tough and calling them out in public versus like, just like somebody.
Well, Rondo also pulled a gun on his family, so there's that.
Yeah, I don't, I don't think he's exactly the type of personality they want to bring in. I think Rondo needs to stay away. Um, but it's just it's not a good start with Brad Stevens saying I want to bring more assistants on, and everyone just like sort of knowing that the Celtics need better assistants, just to start the summer with, yeah, 3-year assistants are gone and 2 more might be gone. Like it's just not a great start to the summer,
Well,
especially when
it
you're looking to
is.
bring a lot of
It's
guys.
not, but it also kind of is, because now this is Joe's official first summer
Okay,
as a coach.
yeah,
Because he
this is
got the
true.
job in September, was thrown into it. He has a chance to kind of build out his staff. Now, I have seen some rumblings of Sam Cassell being thrown around. That's a real possibility. There's no official sources, but it's been like pointed out. Doc isn't coaching right now. He's probably not going to coach. Sam Cassell was a key member of Doc's staff. Does he join the Celtics staff? He did play here for one season. Could happen. Obviously, Silas, who has NBA coaching experience. Aside from that, I'm sure they're going to find a few more guys to sit next to Joe on the bench and help him out. I've seen D'Antoni floated. I don't know if that's the greatest thing ever. I don't think they need more offensive heavy-mindedness, but
maybe not.
There are many possibilities out there, and it could be fun.
Yeah, we'll see. There'll definitely be a lot of chatter, this summer in terms of assistant coaches.
Unfortunately, I don't think KG will be on there. I see a lot of people on Twitter being like, "Oh, KG should join the staff and whip these guys into shape."
I do think they need.
I would say KG likes doing his talk show.
Agree. I do think they need more former players. Like losing Damon Stoudemire was huge because he could relate.
Yes.
And like obviously Ime had experience in the NBA. I think they need somebody like that, but I also think they need somebody like that who had coaching experience. I think bringing Evan Turner back would be interesting. I'm
a big fan of Evan Turner.
I don't know
Evan
if he
Turner,
would be
big fan of
interested in
mine.
that. Really,
followed my Instagram back in the day. He's
There
interacted
we
with one of
go.
my tweets when I said I modeled my mid-range game after him.
Well, there we go. He also does have a podcast though, so maybe he's more interested in that.
But Redick also floated as a assistant.
True. This is true. Well, it'll be a fun summer in terms of finding assistant coaches for the Celtics.
How funny would it be if they just got a bunch of guys to do podcasts?
Bring in Evan Turner, JJ Redick,
JJ.
You bring in Andre Iguodala while you're at it.
Gilbert Arenas, who has a lot of opinions on the Celtics that Jack does not like, and I also agree with Jack that they're stupid.
I think it'll be interesting. There are some assistant coaches getting swooped up around the league, which we'll talk about later, but it should be a fun summer to see, like you said, Joe sort of build a staff around him, maybe bring in a defensive guy.
I am interested.
Bring in other guys who will challenge his opinions a little bit, but getting more into Brad Stevens' presser, which we touched briefly on, where he said,
"What happened Friday?"
Talk about the assistants. I think so. I think it happened the day we released. Like we record the day before it happened, but
maybe it was Thursday then.
Yeah, he said the plan is to keep Jaylen around. Quote, I can say without a doubt we want Jaylen to be here, and he's a big part of us, and we believe in him, and I'm thankful for him. I'm really thankful for when those guys have success, they come back to work, and when they get beat, they own it and they come back to work. So I know that's what they're all about, and that's hard to find. Kind of like when I talked about leadership earlier, is those qualities aren't for everybody. So Jaylen had a great year, all NBA year. He's a big part of us moving forward in our eyes. Sounds like they want to bring him back. It sounds like the Supermax is going to be there on the table for him. The question is, how much posturing is Brad Stevens doing? Because, how much is he telling everybody exactly what he's going to do versus telling everybody what they want to hear? I as much as I think it might be, as much as I might be okay with the Jaylen trade, I just don't see a world where he's not on the Celtics next year. However,
go ahead.
I do think, and I've said this to you and I've said this to people, I do still think there's a chance Jaylen just says, nah, and doesn't sign it.
Well, I've heard a lot of he can't say no because he's like one of the heads of the players union. And if he was turning down money, it would be a bad look.
But my counter to that is, wouldn't it be the ultimate, move of player empowerment to say, I don't care about the money. I want to choose my destiny. I want to choose where I want to go next year.
Well, no, the ultimate move of player empowerment is getting a max contract and then just doing what Ben Simmons does and not play.
Yeah, but I don't.
Well, actually, then that's not player empowerment; it's spectator empowerment.
Yeah, I don't think Jaylen would do that though.
But back to Jaylen, you kind of nail on the head. What else is Brad going to say?
Yeah,
he can't come out and be like. Imagine if he was like, "Yeah, Jaylen has played his last game for the Celtics." I watched him turn the ball over 8 times, and I said, "Oof, get ready to go to the Northwest, buddy." I don't think Jaylen's time with the Celtics is over. It doesn't make a ton of sense. We've talked about this off the air. A lot of like, should they do this? Should they do that? And I'm really like, are you really going to find like 2 better guys to pay that money?
There's only a couple trades I would do for a Jaylen trade.
Yeah, we're kind of in the same boat where if Jaylen Brown is going to get traded, the Celtics cannot trade him for scraps. They have to trade him for an equal or greater piece. I know that's your thing. And your favorite guy is Embiid because there's kind of some uncertainty in Philadelphia with, is Harden going to leave? If Harden leaves, then what are they going to do with Embiid?
Gone.
Because they're
Harden's
kind of
gone.
Yeah, it's like more and more like Bleacher Report put out, it's like a foregone conclusion he's going to Houston. There was a mock draft and they were talking about the number 4 pick. And they were like, I forget exactly what it said, but it was like with all like the signs pointing to Harden going to Houston. I was like, wow, like this is really turning. Philly just kind of let this slip away. They had Ben Simmons. Obviously, he just like shriveled up, doesn't play basketball anymore. They get Harden for him, which is a good move by them. Like, look what Brooklyn's got from Simmons. Absolutely nothing.
Yep.
And now Harden's going to leave them for probably nothing. Does Embiid want out after a frustrating end to the season? So that could be a trade, maybe. And I think maybe I'd be for that. I know you'd be for that. It's your favorite one. There's always the adverse of Embiid can't stay healthy. Embiid is not a playoff player, which we've seen with our own eyes. He's actually never beaten the Celtics in the playoffs in a series.
I will also say I think he's always had a worse team in the Celtics in those situations, though. Not an excuse, but
no, it's true.
My point is, I think if Joel Embiid joined the Celtics, it would be far and away the best team he's ever been on. That's the only point.
And it would also be a good time for this move to happen, right? Because happy birthday to Al Horford as we record this. He's old. Sir. He's 37. He's now 37. That doesn't mean he's going to be part of this deal. He's under contract for 2 more seasons. He's making about $10 million a year.
Good deal.
How much is, and it is a better deal than he was having. How much is he really going to contribute for you? You saw him kind of peter out at the end of this playoff run. He had excellent moments in the playoffs. Make no mistake about it. He was great against Embiid defensively, which was really his main purpose throughout, was to defend.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, on defense, if he was getting targeted by guards, he couldn't hold his own anymore. And he wasn't making the threes that he was making in the regular season, whether that's because he ran out of gas overall, or he was really having to work hard in the defensive end and he just didn't have the legs for it, or it was a mental thing. He still wasn't able to give them the juice that he was giving them in the regular season that made him such an important cog in the machine. I still think Horford is an important cog in the machine regardless because of his leadership, his experience, and his really just relationship with the rest of the guys. But if you are looking for a Horford successor, which is a main theme in the Celtics, do you really believe it's Grant? If it's not, then making a splash for somebody like Embiid, that may be a really good option for you.
That's really funny. Just the way that was phrased. Like, if you don't think it's Grant, maybe just go get Embiid. You know, I know that's not what you meant, but that was like the phrasing was entertaining.
Now, if you think about it, one, Embiid's making less money than Jaylen will make as a supermax guy, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like that might not be the worst financial move with this CBA coming in to screw all the teams over.
Yeah, I understand.
I don't hate it.
Bringing it all the way back around to Jaylen.
There's your podcast headline: Jaylen Brown for Joel Embiid? 3 question marks. Celtics offseason rumors.
Bringing it back around to Jaylen, which is what we're talking about, because Brad said he wants to bring him back. Per Jake Fisher, friend of the show, by the way.
Yeah, Jake. We had Jake Fisher on the show.
Crazy. Friend of the pod, Jake Fisher, talking about the Rockets and Harden and excuse me, free agents this summer. Udoka spent time with Harden as an assistant during the All-Star Guard's first season in Brooklyn, and Celtics All-Star Jaylen Brown, whom rival executives are closely monitoring as he becomes extension eligible this summer, has been one of Udoka's most public supporters after Boston suspended the coach following an improper relationship with the Celtics staffer. The Rockets, sources said, also addressed the idea of including second-year guard Jaylen Green as a part of a package for acquiring an established star talent. I'm not saying there's a connection there, but like it's enough for like a.
Is Jaylen Brown the biggest, like, now that this guy's not on my team anymore, I like him guy? Because when Kyrie was here, he hated Kyrie. And I'm pretty sure by all accounts, when Udoka was here, he hated Udoka. Like, I'm pretty sure they didn't get along. And that was one of the big narratives of, like, I see Greeny tweet it all the time. Anytime there's a Jaylen to Houston rumor, they're like, they didn't like each other. And now all of a sudden he's a big supporter of him. He didn't like Kyrie when Kyrie was here, and he's a big supporter of Kyrie.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is he going to love
weird.
the Celtics if he leaves?
Maybe.
Is that his next, I'm not a part of this anymore, so I can love everybody?
Like I said, though, I just don't see a world where Jaylen's not in the team next year.
Agree. I think that's the conclusion.
That's not like my opinion. Like that's the right thing because I don't even know what I think, to be honest. But I don't think he's not.
We're
gonna
still
be here.
real.
And I think what could happen is they run it back. Jaylen gets the supermax, and then if he gets the supermax, he can't be traded next season. And then next offseason, if they fall short again, Jaylen's like, all right, yeah, I want to go. And I think that's when you could see it. But for now, Brad says he wants Jaylen back, and by all accounts, I think Jaylen's coming back. But
running it back seems to be what the vision is from Stevens, from the rest of what he had to say.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
For the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part. I just don't. I think you have to change a part of your core 8 guys. And do you know who it is? You know who I want to get traded. You know who I want gone.
You would like to see Brogdon. Goodbye.
Get him out. Ship him off. Seal it.
I think Brogdon is actually the most realistic one. All things considered.
Well, my thing is, you brought Brogdon here to be the extra boost of playmaking, and he turned into a score-first point guard. And
that's what you're going to get off the bench.
But that's not what you need. But that's not what you need, though. And
I think what you really need is a backup for Brown and Tatum.
The issue wasn't Brogdon off the bench, because, like, as a scorer off the bench, he's fine. But when you have him in lineups with the Jays, he can't still be that scorer, and that's what he did. So that's the issue I saw.
Well, there were times this season. Well, 1, he won 6 Man of the Year. Make no mistake. And 2, he was really good in certain games. Like, he had moments this year where he was able to coincide with everybody. He was still able to get his, and he was an effective scorer.
I just don't think he helps the team in the way they needed help. He made the team better, but not in the way that was going to get them over the hump, if that makes sense.
I mean, it's not the best when he tears his forearm in half either.
Also not true.
And then they trot him out there to shoot.
Not great. But moving on, The Athletic recently put out a very, I labeled it on our show sheet here, a tell-all article.
The classic. Team gets eliminated. Time to say exactly what happened that nobody wanted to report on.
From
beforehand.
Jared Weiss and Jay King of The Athletic. Shout out those guys. Jay King, friend of the show. Hopefully Jared Weiss sometime in the future. But
yes.
We'll go through it bit by bit. We'll start off with this. After the Celtics Game 3 loss to the Heat, 128-102, a blowout. Arguably their most embarrassing loss of the season. Maybe Game 7. I think the difference between Game 7 and Game 3, though, was in Game 7, at least you could see they tried. They just sucked. In Game 3, they didn't try. They
every week they had a new worst loss of the season.
It was bad.
After the All-Star break, like you got a new one every week.
I know. But Wyc Grousbeck came in hot after Grant Williams asked everybody to clear the room so the players could have some space. Is it Grousbeck or Grousbeck?
I think it's the second one.
Grousbeck? Okay, went off. His message to the effect that he has been building the franchise over 20 years and the players need to play with some balls left the locker room stunned. Basically, he said, play with some balls.
It shows he has a ton of respect for Grant, by the way.
Sources were granted anonymity because they were not authorized to speak on the record about that. So
Grant's like, please clear the room, and Wyc's like, grow a pair.
Well, Blake Griffin said, Grousbeck was right, but we shouldn't need that. As soon as we got to the locker room, we were just so frustrated. And I mean, I think Wyc spoke for everybody because they needed to. They needed to play with some balls after that.
We should get credit too.
We actually spoke to Wyc before that to get his thoughts.
Yeah, he probably watches.
He relayed our message for us. Yeah, maybe friend of the show, Wyc, if you're listening, you have an open invite.
How funny it would be if we get a ping tomorrow.
Wyc messages us on Twitter. No, but it's interesting to see the frustration from Wyc. I just thought that was a cool story. There's really not much else to discuss about it.
Wouldn't you be frustrated? If you were paying all these guys millions and millions of dollars and they're just like out there rolling over, I'd be pretty pissed. Yeah, I mean, I'm pissed and I'm not involved. I don't pay them anything. I'd be pissed too, of course.
We were mad on the show and we pay nothing. We just watch the team. But
yeah,
like I said, there's not too much to discuss. Just an interesting story there. The next piece of the article is the disconnect for when Joe got hired. Obviously, we've talked about this a lot on the show. Joe really wasn't put in a super fair position when he got hired with the Celtics.
Yeah, we said it earlier.
He got I'll read it here. This is again from Jared Weiss and Jay King. We'll give him the credit where it's due, obviously. In addition to the players who credited Udoka for the drastic turnaround and finals berth one season ago, several Celtics assistants considered Udoka a close friend and joined the staff specifically to work with him. When Boston elevated Mazzulla, not even a front row assistant last season, sources around the team said it could have created a divide between him and the other coaches. With more experience and loyalty to Udoka, there was a little quote-unquote awkwardness, according to several members of the coaching staff, but Mazzulla worked to establish a culture of open communication and trust. He just it was such a tough position to be in, and you kind of have to get the feel that Brad elevated his guy to it, so to speak, and we know that Jason Tatum maybe pushed for Mazzulla a little bit. Should Damon Stoudemire maybe have gotten the nod? Maybe, but Will Hardy was already gone at that point. It was just a very tough position. So as much as
Mazzulla did interview for the Utah job, in fairness to the rest of Brad and in favoritism or whatever, he still had enough respect. And of course it was Ainge who was here hiring for that job, but he does have enough respect around the league, it seems. And Danny came out and said, I don't think there's anybody that thinks Ime is a better coach than Joe, which is, that's kind of weird.
It's also, I'm sorry, I don't like Udoka. I've said that here. I don't.
But he knows ball.
He's a better coach. Let's be real. Purely on the court, he's a better coach. But anyway, sorry, continue.
No, but it was a strange thing. But Joe was getting considered for other jobs. He's not completely just the second row guy. I will say, I think it was in that article as well, it was weird between him and Stoudemire because people felt like Stoudemire was the next guy to be up for that.
I think I have that somewhere here.
And maybe that's part of why he took that Georgia job, because he might have felt slighted. What do we know? We don't have sources. At least I don't like that. Jack may have made some friends at the Garden.
Damon Stoudemire, initially expected by several players and coaches to be a favorite for the interim job, later said Mazzulla contacted him upon earning the promotion. Mazzulla told Stoudemire he trusted him and considered him his right-hand man. Quote from Stoudemire in December, "Joe's a great dude. Got to know him a lot last year. Our friendship has just continued as we moved forward this season." So it sounds like there's no bad blood, but you could see why a lot of people expected Stoudemire to maybe get that nod.
That text message from Joe to Stoudemire gives off real Caesar to Brutus, or that's the guy that kills him, right? And he's like, "Hey, to Brute." He's like, "Yeah, you can be my right hand man." That is a villain origin story. If you're Stoudemire and it's the wrong kind of energy is in Stoudemire, he could totally go to sabotage him. But yeah, tough draw, weird position for Mazzulla. We all kind of knew that. This article does not mention, right, what Woj was spewing, that the players were not over Udoka.
It briefly touches on just the part with the assistants who had loyalty to Udoka. I don't think it talked about players.
I don't remember. I definitely think that either.
I think stuff existed. The way I framed it, I remember when we talked about it last season. It's it's easy for us and fans and people who cover team to cast off Udoka completely. Obviously you should disparage, is that the right word, what he did, and acknowledge
separate it from his
no. You should
you have to acknowledge what he did wrong.
Yes, and you have to
take it into account.
Disparage isn't the correct word, but look down on it. What he did was wrong, is what I'm saying. It was bad. It's easy for us to acknowledge that and just say, okay, screw this guy, goodbye, see you later, right? But for these players who had a relationship with him for a year, if you're friends and you work closely and you become very close with somebody for a year,
yes,
and then they make a huge mistake, it's not as easy for you to immediately disconnect from them. And so I understand why the players may feel that way. And like I said, it's a lot easier for people watching the team and covering the team and who are fans of the team to say, okay, screw that guy, see you later. That's gross, because it was, and you have to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But I would understand why players might have some saying damn, that stinks. And also just purely from the perspective of, we built this thing great up. And I don't think it's fair to blame anybody but Udoka for that. It's his fault. He messed up, and he is the reason that the Celtics were put in that position. The Celtics shouldn't get blamed for making the choice. Nobody behind the scenes should get blamed for doing anything. It is fully on
Perhaps
Udoka.
Woj gets a little blame for
I don't like the way Woj and Shams reported on it because they used the word consensual, and then they came back and said, "Oh, actually, it kind of wasn't." Like once you put a word out there and that's into the ether, that was very irresponsible of them. And I think that's why a lot of the situation is
tough year for Woj.
People liking him.
Woj lost some respect.
Tough.
I had a dream that we had Woj on the show and we were just trashing him.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Why is
like
this?
like we were just like, so how much did Philly pay you to put out the tweet about the fouls?
What did he say? Did he cuss us out?
I don't remember.
Did he tell you?
I think I woke up.
Well, fair enough. But moving along into this Athletic article, a lot of the complaints about Joe this year were how nice he was in the media, how nice he was in the public eye. He would often say, would you tell the guys? He'd just say, I told him I love him. And that was it. From the Athletic article, it came out, quote, his leadership is second to none. From speakers to events, he hit all the buttons to galvanize the group, said a team source. Throughout the season, the things he did to call out Tatum and Brown all the time, he was super hard on all of them. When they needed to be called out, he was the first to call them out. When the role players needed to be called out, he called them out too. He shot it straight in how he saw it, and he didn't care about how it should be done. I thought he developed great relationships with the guys because of that. And basically them talking about, a quote again from Jared and Jay King. It became clear early on that Mazzulla would take a different approach than Udoka, where Udoka lit up players through the media. Mazzulla regularly showed support, but behind closed doors, he was willing to hold everybody accountable. So just because Joe didn't trash them publicly doesn't mean he wasn't hard on them. And I think it's sort of like when people get mad at Tatum for not being an outward leader and just sort of doing things internally and quietly. I think that's sort of a similar approach to the one Joe took. And it's interesting to see now that he did hold them accountable behind the scenes. It's just not as easy for fans to grasp it when they're not seeing it with their own eyes and hearing it.
Yeah. I mean, Joe is definitely different than Udoka. I do think that Mazzulla did form, of course, a bond with these guys throughout the season. Another reason why it's probably good that they don't get rid of him, because all of the talk about Udoka, what we just went through, right? Jack talking about, of course, it's hard to let go of that relationship you've built with him, regardless of what he did. You're going to have that same, if you were to get rid of Mazzulla, you have to have those guys go through the same thing. They have a new coach again. They have to adjust to a new style. Building on what you've already created may be just as important as any roster move the Celtics make this summer.
A fourth
head coach, as it might sound,
a fourth rookie head coach in 4 years is awful.
Far from ideal.
Yeah,
I would say. Finally letting him get the tools around him to assist him, to give him all of the help he needs, all the defensive schemes, whatever it takes to maximize Mazzulla as a coach, a guy that both Stevens and Ainge seemingly believe in, is important. That is why, as funny as it sounds at the beginning of the pod, it is actually exciting to see who joins the staff.
Yeah.
This is why we play. This is why we do a show, because we get excited about that. But it is funny as we go throughout this news dump from the article, there is the section where Mazzulla was really diving into offense, and then Brown was like, let's break the huddle 1-2-3 defense.
You want to jump into that? That was up next.
Was it
anyways,
next up?
We might as well. Yeah. So
goodbye me.
Basically, and you heard a lot of this after Game 7. Malcolm Brogdon actually put it blatantly. He said defense was the problem last year. This was an off.
By the way, nobody likes defense more than Malcolm Brogdon.
Clearly. Ironic, right? But reading it here, give me a sec to read all this because it's all important, but it's going to take me a second.
Yes.
While the locker room generally supported Mazzulla's leadership style, a key disagreement between the coaching staff and many of the team's top players was rooted in the on-court philosophy of defense versus offense. Basically, defense carried the Celtics to the finals last season, but Mazzulla focused more on offense than his predecessor did. He pivoted towards smaller lineups, normally starting Derek White even after Robert Williams became healthy. The double big front court with Williams and Al Horford, the staple of Boston's identity last season, only played 332 minutes together all season, 160 fewer than the duo of Luke Cornett and Sam Hauser. I didn't know that before reading it. That's kind of crazy. Williams' injury, which limited him to 35 regular season games, helped to push Mazzulla away from that look. The extent to which he moved off of the lineup even after Williams returned That showed the change in philosophy. Disagreement over Mazzulla's approach showed in a film session during the second round that dove into the offense when Brown broke the huddle by saying 1, 2, 3 defense, as you referenced him. According to several sources in the room, multiple players told The Athletic that while Mazzulla had shifted the team's identity to be more balanced down the middle of offense and defense, that they felt defense wins championships and that last season proved to be the top priority. Players noted they sometimes would come out of timeouts uncertain about defensive coverages, and Blake Griffin, Smart, and Grant Williams, among others, would help the team work through things heading onto the court before play resumed. You also heard Marcus Smart say that with how bad they were in offense last year, they looked at that more and hurt their defense. Brogdon saying, I don't think a team that's better in offense than they are defense can win a title. Again, ironic from Brogdon. But yeah, basically the players saying we need to play more defense. And before I let you talk about this, I wrote something for Celtics blog that's coming out in the next few days called "The Celtics Are Having an Identity Crisis," because I just thought that was a funny way to title it. But something interesting here. I have some
that's
stats.
not a joke, Jack.
I know. Great quote. Goated show. Should have won the bracket. But interesting stats, offense, defense, year to year, right? And this is regular season and playoffs combined. So in this past year, their offensive rating jumped from 113.6 to 117.3, right? Good jump. Defense, 106.2 to 110.6. And a part of that is offense up around the league, but that's a pretty big dip in defense. However, looking at their stats for every game, we all know the stat. Celtics shoot 40% or better from three this season, 38-2. Including playoffs. Phenomenal. They're great. 30-32 when they failed to reach the mark. Bad. At the same time, the average scoring mark of the NBA this year was 114.7. Crazy, by the way. Very high. When the Celtics when the Celtics allowed 115 or more, 18-23. When they allowed fewer than 115, 50-11 this season. Now, you might look and say, okay, well, there's the problem. The numbers last year for the defensive-minded team, obviously there's some skew because of how poorly they started the year, but like they were almost identical to what the Celtics numbers were this season. And worse last year, actually, defensively, because defensively, you looked at the average that season for scoring, which was 111. They were 11-20 when they allowed more than 111. And then 54-21 when they allowed less than 111, which pretty similar. They just had more games where they allowed less, but they also lost more when they allowed less. And part of that was because the offense was bad. They had less games. They had less games when they shot 40% or better, 22-4 when they did, but that's about like 15 less games than they had. And 31-49 when they didn't, which is objectively a lot worse. So obviously the offense was bad, and you could argue that the balance was better this year. It's just that when the defense slipped and the offense slipped was the problem. I think that's where it really caught you, because if the offense wasn't there, the defense could still be there and it would still be hard to win. Last year, the defense could be there, but the offense wasn't. It was still hard to win. They just need to find a better balance of the two while also locking in. And I will say also, Brogdon talking about game 7, saying, if we get more stops in that game, we're in it. No, you're not. The offense was
their defense wasn't terrible.
That's
they
what
only
saying.
allowed 103 points.
Out of all the games to complain about defense, like, I know it was the last game of the season, so you're kind of wrapping it up, but like that was not the game to talk about for defense. But I rambled for too long. Basically, players bad. Mazzulla prioritized offense and want to focus more on defense. Sorry.
I'm pro defense. As far as those stats are concerned, we went through the defensive rating. If they allowed lower than the average this season, they won a lot of games. That's the findings of the scientific method there.
15-11.
And I like that finding more than they shot over X% and won this many games, because while shooting is great and it's definitely important to winning games, it's more of an independent actually, I'm not going to try and sound smart. You can't control your shooting as much. You can't be reliable to. Some days you're just going to miss shots. It happens. You kind of saw game 7. Missed a lot of shots.
Tatum said it after game 7. He said you can't control if the shot goes in, but you can control your effort on defense.
There you go. I mean, who knows ball more than me? Nobody.
Tatum knows ball. Sam knows ball. It's all the same.
Yeah. I mean, Tatum heard me say that 2 million times. It's true.
Tatum, if you're listening, open invite. Welcome to come on the show.
We bought your shoes.
Yeah, we did.
We bought them.
That
Buy
we
your
did.
shoes.
It was just,
but it's true. That is my favorite mindset in terms of what I think the Celtics should do is just play defense. I don't think the players are wrong to call for more defense, but also I don't really know if it's on Mazzulla to tell you to play defense. If you're all like, hey, we should play defense, you should be like, okay, we'll play defense. If it's that important, then show us.
I agree. I think as much as the defense versus offense thing is maybe Mazzulla focused on it so much, like it's also the easiest to just say, okay, let's try a little harder, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously there's plenty of tactics to put into play, and maybe you focus more on that. Maybe you focus more on, you play Rob in the starting lineup more. You focus on switching versus not switching. You go over those details. But I mean, if your main takeaway after complaining about too much offense and not enough defense is just try harder, like that's not something Joe Mazzulla can control. And as much as I do agree with the fact that they need to focus more on defense, I don't think they can regress offensively to where they were this past, like the season they went to the finals. Cause I don't think we talk enough about how like really not great the offense was that season. Like it was really rough at times, and it was the main reason they lost the finals, I would argue, right? Defense obviously wasn't there as much either. But at some point, like, I mean, if Steph Curry is going to do that, like at some point you just,
we'll
like,
go to
okay,
game 4. They couldn't
guy.
get really anything that was not a 3 down the stretch. Like they only took 3.
Tatum couldn't make 2s. They can't make 2s. And I think a big part of it, and I talked about this in my article too, is I think the real key, I don't think you have to take fewer 3s. I just think you need to have a better game plan for when they're not falling. And I think that's the real problem. I don't think their shot profile is the issue. I think they
need to be less one-dimensional. That's how I feel.
Yeah, they need to be able to attack defenses in other ways. But when they're hot, and they should stick with what they're doing. And defensively, maybe you focus a little bit more on that. You bring in defensive-minded assistants. I think that's crucial too. But I don't know. Focus more on defense, but I don't think you can abandon the offensive progress they've made this year. I think that's,
you have to tighten up on both ends.
You got to find a balance. But moving on, the next thing, this was a common complaint for people throughout the season. Joe Mazzulla in timeouts. It's quite the pairing there. But from the Athletic article, again, we're taking everything from this. Shout out Jared Weiss and Jay King. Mazzulla would often not call a timeout while things were falling apart, trying to teach his team how to figure things out on the fly, which, as much as it sucked at the time, I do think could be useful moving forward. Didn't necessarily pan out in the playoffs, but like as they learn, maybe it'll help them grow. Many within the organization and around the league were shocked when Mazzulla started being aggressive, calling timeouts after going down 0-3 in the conference finals, helping the Celtics reset before things went wrong to start winning consistently. After the season ended, multiple players and coaches told The Athletic that this was a much-needed shift and a key part of the learning process for Mazzulla. I do think it's important for Mazzulla to learn because he is a rookie head coach, but you probably could have come to that conclusion a little bit sooner. That's all I'm saying.
It's one of those conclusions that's funny, and it's good that they figured it out because you definitely saw a shift in his timeout calling style in the back half of the Eastern Conference Finals.
I mean, he was leaping across the court to call timeouts as I choke on my water.
But literally, like, all of us were like, hey, maybe call a timeout. Like, the whole season. And he was like, nah.
Mm-hmm.
But goes back to the point of you have to let this guy grow as a coach. It's true. This has become the Joe Mazzulla podcast today, and that's fine because he was a huge scapegoat throughout this playoff run at all times in all series. Anytime something didn't go well, fingers are pointed at him, whether it was his timeouts, whether it was the three-point heavy offense that sometimes wouldn't go well, whether it was the not getting stops on defense because they don't put an emphasis on it. All of these things point back to him, and he's going to improve. That's kind of a given. And if he doesn't, then maybe you have to look elsewhere. But after calming down, I think it would have been unfair to get rid of him after this season. Unless maybe they get swept in the conference finals. Maybe.
Well, I mean, Tatum said after the game, like, defending Joe, like Tatum sat on the podium and had like a 30 to 60 second response just about how, like, I think Joe did a fine job. I don't think he gets enough credit. He was put in a tough spot. And so I do think, like what you said, the players have built a relationship with Joe, which is needed. And also at the same time, as much as it might not be ideal because he's not the perfect fit as Udoka might have been if he didn't screw it up. But at some point you do just have to stick with somebody and hope they grow with the team because, I mean, the most successful you look at teams that have won a championship over the X amount of years. The Heat, Spoelstra's been there forever, right?
Yes.
The Spurs, Pop's been there forever. The Warriors, Kerr's been there forever, right? Very few and far in between do you see teams. Well, that's the exception, right? They're the exception. Rookie Nick Nurse. I would say
Lakers,
any LeBron team. I think any LeBron team is an exception too, just because of how good he. Yeah, I think any LeBron team is the exception.
I'm just teasing. You're right. The sustainable,
disparage my
successful
point
teams.
as I'm talking.
No. The sustainable, successful teams have had sturdy coaching staff. It's true. That's part of what it is. Again, 4 coaches in 4 years probably wouldn't be the answer. It's good that they're giving Mazzulla the new year. They're giving him a new staff.
Even if you want to, I know Bud got fired this year, but even you look at the Bucks, he was there for how many years before he got over the hump? You need some sort of
started in 2019.
Yeah,
the Kyrie year where Kyrie was a rat. That was his first, and they got bounced.
He had a couple years with the team. You almost never see a coach win in his first, you know what I'm saying? It's very rare for a coach to win his first year. And if he does, he probably has Kawhi on a bender or LeBron James on his team, right?
Yeah.
And as much as you want Jason Tatum to be that, maybe he'll grow into it. But yeah, the timeouts thing was interesting. We didn't have to spend too much time on it because it was sort of like a, no shit, call the timeouts, Joe. But moving forward,
well, that shows we have the same mindset as the players.
Exactly.
This is another we know ball moment.
Any players listening, friends of the show, you're welcome. But second to last thing from this Athletic article, Grant Williams, my guy, I'm a big Grant fan. Apparently, in March, some of the players started to believe Mazzulla prioritized the offense too much, sort of in line with the offense defense thing we talked about. According to team sources, several veterans wondered why the coaching staff went away from Grant Williams, who had a significant role in slowing down KD, Giannis, and Bam on the way to the finals last season. Still, in early March, he received his first DMPCD since the 2020-21 season, which is kind of crazy. Williams' playing time was sporadic from that point forward, and he fell out of the rotation when the playoffs began. The coaching staff believed in Hauser's offensive production and felt that because opponents were going out of their way to help target him and abandon their own offense, his ability to hold up decently in isolation made him impactful. Mazzulla also wanted to get Hauser more experience to prepare him for the playoffs, believing Williams would be ready to go if his number was called. But the team's veterans believed Williams would be crucial in the playoffs, so Tatum and Brown met with Mazzulla in early March to implore him to put Williams back in the rotation, team sources told The Athletics. The Stars stepped up and told Joe what they wanted, and Joe listened, a player source said. And I hate to say it, another we know ball moment. I was saying this the whole time. There was no reason he should have been out of the rotation. And glad Tatum and Brown knew it. I understand the Hauser argument, but
I actually think that was a good argument.
I agree, but just fucking play them both, man. What are we doing? Just expand the rotation a little bit, see who was hot that night. There was no reason for Grant to be picking up DMPCDs. It was ridiculous.
I think when Grant did play in the playoffs, he was either hot or cold. I didn't think Grant was the best in the playoffs. I thought he had great moments. I thought he was impactful at times, but there were other days where he was just out there running. In the last couple games against Miami, he didn't do anything special. However, in the middle of that series, he was great.
Well, yeah, I guess.
I'm giving him credit. I'm being fair. He was not great in the last couple games.
I think it goes back to the thing, if you're not in the rotation consistently, you're probably going to have some rip. But
at that point, he'd played 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he was in 6 and 7. So he had got some consistent run in that series.
I guess. I mean,
it was an odd point for him to bow out after being solid. He was good. There's no denying he was impactful.
I don't think he was terrible. I think his shot was off, which is definitely
that's a big reason why Grant gets minutes. He's a reliable guy to stretch the floor.
I think his defense is more important than his
both
shooting. And at the same time, what are we doing? It's not like he was the only one who couldn't fucking shoot. Nobody could shoot. There was nobody on the roster making threes. That wasn't just Grant. Horford shot like shit. Brogdon couldn't make a shot. None of what I'm saying
means that Grant shouldn't have played.
Yeah, that's my thing.
But he was not perfect.
I'm not saying he was perfect, but he wasn't DMPCD bad. Not even close. Even close.
Agreed.
That's my thing. As much as you can say he was bad, he wasn't even close to being close to not playing.
Well, you know what the best is? Joe was dying on a hill for Hauser, and then he just never played. You just never played him in the playoffs.
It's because they wanted Grant. And I don't know. Do you want to know my honest thing is? I think you got too many guards now. There's too many, and especially if the guard you brought in for playmaking help isn't going to give you playmaking help, you have too many guards.
And you have one that wants a trade.
And it gets, and we'll get to that, but it gets especially worse when you decide, we're starting Marcus and double pigs. Let's just bring 3 guards off the bench in game 1 versus Miami. That was dumb. I'm sorry. There was no need for that. But
Pritchard was like a breaking case of emergency, I think, in that game. But they also told Pritchard in game 7 to be ready against Philly. That was a carryover.
Yeah, I don't know. It's. I'm glad the players fought for more Grant minutes. I'll put it that way because I do think he deserved to be paid.
Has Grant played his last game as a Celtic?
I think so. I don't think he should, but I think he has.
Head in hands for Jack.
Well, we'll spend more time on Grant as the summer goes on.
I'm sure.
I just don't know. I changed my mind. If the Celtics trade one of their guards and/or Robert Williams, I don't think Grant has played his last minutes. But if Brogdon stays, Rob stays, Smart stays, I don't think they can afford to have another $20 million contract on the books. Just for the sake of, and I know we say, well, you might as well pay him now, but like once the super tax comes in and this new CBA, like that'll restrict you from making trades, that'll restrict you from signing guys for the MLE. Like that will really hurt the Celtics flexibility having another guy making that much money. And I do think he'll probably get offers of like 18 to 20 from like the Thunder or the Pacers or the Spurs or these teams on the fringe looking to add young talent. So I'm sure we'll talk more about that, but I don't know. It's tough to imagine the Celtics paying him that much unless they get off a Malcolm contract or something like that, which I don't know if they will. But last thing from this Athletic article, we already mentioned Payton Pritchard, and we're going to talk a little bit more about him here. He wants out. Newsflash, shocker to nobody. Payton Pritchard wants out of Boston. With new onerous CBA rules looming after the next season, the front office will likely have to decide in the next 12 months whether it can afford its expensive veteran depth. Payton Pritchard has made it clear he hopes to be traded this summer, according to multiple team sources. So will the Celtics move him if they trade one of their core guards? Pritchard's gone. He's just gone. He's not going to be here by the time the season starts.
For him.
And honestly, good for him because he's not getting minutes here, and he's good enough to get minutes somewhere around the league.
He'll go to Miami and be nasty.
This is true. Maybe he will.
He'll become Isaiah Thomas from 2017.
Where do you think he ends up?
Did we say Utah on the last pod?
I think Utah would be good. Well, no, we talked about it when we reacted to the Bleacher Report trades because there was.
Oh, okay, yes, that would make sense. Oh, because that was the Kelly Olynyk trade. I could see that.
I like Olynyk. I might rather have a wing if you're doing it. At the same time, though, I think Pritchard might be in the category of more valuable to Boston than he is to other teams. Not because they have a place for him, but just because like. He didn't play all season. Like, he can play, but he didn't play. You don't have a large sample size. He's a smaller guard. He's already 25, right? Like,
could the Spurs use him off the bench?
Maybe, but like at best is exactly what you said. He is a bench guard who can maybe be your 6th man. And do I think he can grow in a new situation? Yes, but no one's going to overpay for maybe this guy can grow here. You know what I'm saying? Like Lauri Markkanen got traded to the Cavs for Larry Nance in a first. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like people have value. They have better value in new situations because they don't have a lot of value when they get traded there. And so as much as you'd like to see the Celtics throw him in for some cool package, it might just be a couple.
You're going to be disappointed.
It's probably going to be a couple.
The Celtics gave this guy for free.
It's going to be a couple of 2nd round picks. I'm telling you that. Or you know what would be actually even more valuable? Maybe they sneak in, we'll trade you Pritchard and the 35th pick in this year's draft to jump into the 20s in the first round. You know what I'm saying? Like as much as that might not be, get a veteran, like you'd have another young guy on a cost controlled contract. You can maybe have him, get some okay regular season minutes, learn the ropes. And if he develops, maybe you hit, right? So people hit on late round talents all the time. So maybe that's what you're looking at. Maybe you're looking at like, what's the NBA draft order this year? Like
in all seriousness though, the Celtics do kind of need to hit on this pick. With a new, did I say this on the last show?
Yeah, we talked about cost-controlled contracts.
I really think it is important for that cost control. And
maybe you say, okay, hey Utah, we'll give you Pritchard and 30 whatever for 28 in a future second. You know what I'm saying? It's not great, but you jump up into the first round a few picks, you get a future second, you keep them draft capital. There's that. You look at, maybe Memphis wants another point guard on their roster. They give up 25 for Pritchard in a second. Maybe Sacramento is looking to save some cash, but they already have Davion Mitchell. The Nets are there. The Nets could use some extra guys. They have 21 and 22, so maybe they'd be willing. There are some guys in the late 20s or early to late 20s who could say, maybe we'll take a guy who has shown something in the league and an early second, let the Celtics jump up. So a player on a first round contract, especially a late first, would be super valuable for a Celtics team who doesn't really have much flexibility to add depth.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. I'm sure we're going to get more rumors. It's going to start to pop up maybe around the draft as it gets closer. We're 23 days away from the draft as we record this. So
I'm excited. I always love the draft. I do.
I couldn't care less about the draft, but it is important
I'll
this year.
start diving
in all seriousness, yes. I truly do believe it's important with this new CBA.
Agreed.
Is that it for Celtic stuff?
I think that's all we have for Celtic stuff. Yeah. So
50 minutes on the Celtics in June after they're done. How you like that?
There you go. Well, we can move into the NBA stuff.
Put the super cool background.
I love the brand.
Yes.
I love the branding, but we are getting into the NBA here. We'll start with some coaching, not changes, but additions.
Quick news dump.
Yes, the Suns hire Frank Vogel. Doc Rivers making sure to let everybody know 10 minutes before the news drops that he had dropped out. So he didn't get snubbed. He just dropped out. Don't worry, guys. He didn't want the job anyways.
I truly don't think Doc wanted a new job though.
I don't know. Maybe partially, but who knows?
What do you Vogel?
Like? I think Vogel's fine for them. Probably a downgrade for Monty Williams
as an assistant on the Celtics.
Yes, I think he's a downgrade for Monty Williams. However, he has experience. He's a good defensive coach. He showed that with the Lakers. He shows he can manage stars, so that probably helps in Phoenix. It's fine. And if the time with Monty was truly up, then it's really fine. That's just the best verb or adjective I have for it. It's fine. It's whatever.
It is funny. My guy Bill Simmons was always harping on Chris Young being the next guy for the Suns. He was certain. Who is it?
Kevin Young.
Why did I say Chris Young?
I don't know. I don't know who Chris Young is. Who's Chris Young?
Yeah, Kevin familiar. Young. Idiot Sam. Doesn't know ball. But he was certain that Kevin Young would be the new head coach of the Suns. Mm-hmm. And as soon as the news dropped, everybody was posting the sad. He did say hand up my bad. But he also was the victim of everybody posting the sad Bill Simmons.
Which is an amazing photo.
Yeah, I love it.
And hey, Bill Simmons, if you're a listener, open invite.
I'd love to have Bill Simmons.
But
I love Bill Simmons.
In Bill Simmons' slight defense, Kevin Young did stay in Phoenix. He will be there as the highest paid assistant coach in the NBA. He's making $2 million a year as an assistant. They clearly wanted him there. It's clear the players wanted to keep him there. And so as much as, Frank Vogel's fine, like Frank Vogel and Kevin Young on the staff, they've got a really good group in Phoenix. Like you give them credit. However, they do need to get the depth in order this summer. They need some depth.
Bring in some guys to play on the team now.
Agree.
Like we started at the beginning of the show, I'd rather have the coaching staff fall apart than the team.
This is true.
Yeah.
Speaking of more coaching staff news, the Nets have hired Kevin Ollie, who was a front runner for the Pistons job, before Monty Williams got it. And the Bucks are bringing in Terry Stotts to be on Adrian Griffin's coaching staff. So
the Ollie thing with Detroit was always weird to me because he was obviously the head coach at UConn. They did win the 2014 national championship under him, but after that, it was a disaster. And I was like, that's really weird that they want to bring this guy in.
Well, I think he found some success with the Overtime Elite, which was the a secondary thing. He coached the Thompson twins, I believe. So
yes, okay.
He had some success there, but just recapping the NBA coaching news there a little bit. The next NBA news we have is Mr. Zion Williamson. I know you're a big fan of Zion, right?
Well, he's a big guy. A little fat.
Yes, he is. But the new news, per Christian Clark of NOLA.com, NOLA. NOLA, do you say NOLA or NOLA? We're talking about New Orleans.
NOLA. That's how I would say.
NOLA.com. Williamson's relationship with Adrian Nelson became strangled. Adrian Nelson, who is what's the title? I don't want to mess it up, so I'm going to go look. Pelicans VP of Player Care. At times. Williamson's relationship with Adrian Nelson, who is the VP of player care, became strained, quote, during his rookie season and got so bad the two-time All-Star, quote, refused to work with him at times. Clark previously reported in September of 2021 that Williamson was frustrated, quote unquote, with the Pelicans for the number of hoops they made him jump through as he was recovering from a torn meniscus he suffered in the preseason before the start of 2019-20. Then Pelicans head coach Alvin Gentry told Clark after Williamson's first game on January 22nd, 2020, the budding superstar wasn't happy, quote unquote, about being used in bursts on a restricted minutes count. So it sounds like Williamson was mad that they made him do so many things to get back on the court afterwards.
Perhaps they said eat more vegetables.
I will also say, I believe it's come out in the past that there's been some disagreements with Williamson's camp saying he was or wasn't ready to play, and the people on the team saying they, the opposite. So it just sounds like there's some disconnect there between Williamson and the Pels organization.
Shocker. Zion, if I'm the Pelicans, Zion does not have much of a leg to stand on. Not playing a whole lot of basketball.
Well, but I think a part of that is them holding him out. I think a lot of it goes back to the argument of like Kawhi getting crapped on for sitting. I think a lot of that is just the Clippers sitting him. I don't necessarily think it's all his choice. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's completely fair to crap on Zion for not playing when it's very clear to come out that like the Pelicans are being overly cautious with him. And I also understand the perspective of being overly cautious with him because he's injury prone. He puts a lot of pressure with his athleticism and his weight on those knees and on those legs. And so you got to be careful with him moving forward. But then if that creates a relationship where he's mad because he's not playing, that's where you start to have the problem. So as much as you want to sit here and say, oh, Zion's not playing, he doesn't have a leg to stand on, which I understand why you say that. Well, I also think it's unfair to completely put it all on Zion when it's clear that the team is being overly cautious.
A little bit of extra work on the legs too.
Maybe he's got to work, do some crunches.
Speaking of weight, NBA Finals, Jokic, big fat guy. Not really. He's kind of.
I've a lot of stuff that's come out saying like he looks it, but he's actually in really good shape for his size. I think he's just a large dude.
No, yeah,
like he's
it's just funny because he's so dominant, but he does not look like anybody that would be dominant.
I know, yeah.
But they won game one against a Heat team that did not look like the Heat team that beat the Celtics. Caleb Martin, 1 of 7. Would have put my house on that. I think we all should be compensated. I think we all have a crisp $50 bill with our name on it. At least.
Max Strus wasn't Max Strus like 0 of 10 too?
Yeah, but he kind of sucked against the Celtics. Like he wasn't a killer in that series.
Still frustrating.
It was Martin, it was Vincent, and it was Duncan Robinson.
Is this a sweep? I will say the Heat, as much as they didn't play great, the Heat showed a little fight at the end there. Like I know they didn't cut it down to much, but they cut it down to 10. They showed some fight. Like they showed remnants of the Heat team that did all right.
Mm-hmm. Highsmith had a big game, so you know that means Spoelstra's just not going to play him in the next game, like he did when he played well against the Celtics.
I think this could be Nugs in 6, but
I don't really know what to think. I think Miami's going to show some fight.
Are you rooting for the Heat, right?
No,
you're a Nuggets guy now.
I decided that it would be too much for me to see Tyler Hero and Kyle Lowry have success, so I had to walk that back.
I think my love for Jimmy outweighs that.
I like Jimmy.
I love
fan of Jimmy.
Jimmy's awesome.
Jimmy came out and said that he was going to go do an escape room after they lost game 1, and he had 13 points. And the rest of the guys were going to go see Spider-Man, which I can respect.
Great. That's great. Did you see the whole thing? Nikola Jokic after the game was going like this, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's saying ring me. He's saying ring me." And then an article came out for like New York Times and said, "No, his daughter likes some like Serbian TV show where this is like something they do for like counting." And he was just talking to his daughter, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's saying put the ring on," and everyone's just like, "You're stupid."
It would be fire if he was just saying put the ring on.
No. Jokic, he's such an interesting thing because like he's the guy. Like when Kawhi walks away from basketball, we're never going to hear from him.
I was about to be like, is Jokic the new Kawhi?
Is the same. He absolutely is the new Kawhi. Bro, dude goes back to Serbia every summer with his wife and his kid and rides horses. Or not even rides horses, rides in little carts behind course. Have you seen those videos?
Yeah, it's just him like riding around like the cobblestone. He goes back to streets.
Sombor, Serbia, and he doesn't come back to the point where Mike Malone and Tim Connolly at the time flew to Serbia to give him the MVP trophy last year.
Well, also Mike Malone said he was riding the horses.
Mike Malone rode the horses?
Yeah, apparently. So Mike Malone
love
was
it.
on Pardon My Take this week,
Uh-huh.
and he was talking to the
Mike Malone's
guys.
fire, by the way. Love Mike
Yeah,
Malone.
is fire.
Great
Agree.
guy. Cool.
He was like, yeah, I went to Serbia, and the Jokic brothers are actually jealous because Nikola let him ride the horses, and he doesn't let those other guys ride them.
That's so funny. That's amazing. I love Mike Malone. Cool dude. I love the way he handles himself too.
Pretty sure
'cause it's
Mike
just like,
Malone's from around here, or at
Mike
least
Malone,
spent some time here.
he's from Queens, New York, Seton Hall Prep, New Jersey. Let me see if he maybe he like coached somewhere. He was an assistant at Providence in the 90s.
Okay, well, there you go.
There you go. There we go. We got around here. But I mean, just another example of somebody being there for a long time. He's been there since 2015. Got to have success. You got to have some sort of consistency. But
Good on them.
yeah, good for them. Jokic is cool. Dude just chills in Serbia during the offseason. Doesn't really care. Jamal Murray, fine. They don't have many guys on the roster that I dislike. Maybe
They do
Ish
not
Smith,
have hateable guys.
but even
on their
then,
team.
Ish Smith's
don't.
more of a meme, right? Like, it's whatever. Like Jeff Green, I know you don't love him. I love Jeff Green. He's fine.
I mean,
Aaron
he's
Gordon's
fine, but I just
fine.
don't like that he turned up against Celtics at one time.
Jamal Murray's cool. Michael Porter Jr. is fine. Like, they're just a good team. Bruce Brown, local guy. Like, like I said,
Big
you
fan
gotta
of
love
Bruce Brown.
Jokic. You gotta love Jokic. If Jokic wins the title this year, is he the best in the world?
Everybody's saying that, huh?
I think so. I think he's the best in the world right now.
Maybe.
I think the one knock on Jokic, excuse me, the two knocks on Jokic coming into this season, not a good defender, not a playoff player. He's certainly a playoff player now, and he's been damn good on defense this postseason. And so when you combine both of those, best in the world. And that's not a slight on Giannis because I think they're 1A, 1B, but god damn. And maybe it's me being a prisoner of the moment, but I'm perfectly fine with that right now because he's been awesome. So shout out to Jokic. And honestly, like, as much as you don't want Lowry and Hero to win, I just kind of want to see good basketball at this point. I know that's a lame take from a guy who's a neutral fan, but it's just because that's what I am.
Yeah, both those fan bases should just come beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, you should look outside and it's The Simpsons where they just have the mob of pitchforks and torches.
That's all right. That's all right. But the last NBA thing we have to talk about today is Mr. Ja Morant.
Yes. I forgot about this.
Morant. Interesting stuff being said about him. I will say,
boy.
I want to find the tweet Adam Silver said about Ja Morant because I thought it was really lame. I thought it was really dumb.
Adam Silver came out and said, we have Ja news.
said,
we have a punishment for Ja, but we're not going to say before the finals are over because we don't want to break the news.
Yeah,
like, we don't want to break the internet.
Adam Silver and Ja Morant, we've uncovered a fair amount of additional information. We could probably could have brought it to a head now, but we've made the decision that it would be unfair to these players and these teams to announce that decision in the middle of the series. I hate to break it to you, Adam, but that's exactly what you fucking did. Like, how stupid can he be saying, we have this news, but we don't want to take away the attention from these people. So definitely don't listen to the fact that we know what happened, but we're not telling you. Like, dude, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's a joke, right?
I don't think I'll ever not like Adam Silver because I love the get ready to learn Chinese buddy meme so much. So every time I see Adam Silver, it's there, and it just brings me such great joy. But this is a bit of a corny rat move from Adam Silver, I would say.
Yeah. And have you seen all the jokes of other players on live too? Like Damian Lillard asked
Yeah,
live,
everyone's like, don't pull out a gun.
And they're like, I don't got anything over here. It's so funny. So amazing. But yeah, and then Stephen A. Smith talked about Ja Morant. This quote from Stephen A. In terms of Ja Morant's behavior off the court, some of the things he finds himself engaged in with the company that he keeps, with the establishments that he visits, things of that nature. Obviously, he feels compelled pretty much all the time to have a gun around him. A lot of players I know are from the streets, period. And I can tell you that the people within the NBA community are not just concerned about Ja Morant playing basketball. They're concerned about whether or not he's going to be alive in 5 years. And I do think it's important to, like he said, like, players all come from different backgrounds. They all have these things. Like, if this is what he's into, that's fine. Stanley Johnson went on a podcast, and I can't tell you what podcast it was. I just remember I saw a clip on TikTok or somewhere, and he put it into perspective. He goes, players in the league make a lot of money, and because they're put on this pedestal and they make all this money, they're held to a higher standards. And what they choose to do with that is very different. And he goes, look at Jared Allen. You don't know what the fuck Jared Allen's doing right now. Man makes $20 million a season, and you haven't heard shit from him. Right. And so there are different pathways, and as much as you want to like, a lot of people, I think there's a lot of arguments from both sides. Like one side saying Ja hasn't done anything illegal. What do you mean? And the other side saying like Ja is completely
I think
irreprehensible.
technically what he did is illegal because I was on. I don't think he's doing anything illegal train, but I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to have a gun in a car. There's some law
like
he
that.
was supposedly breaking.
My thing is, it rides the line too much for a player who is supposed to be a face of an organization that reaches millions. And I forget who said this too, and it was, I was listening to a podcast. It was when Ja Morant did it the first time, there wasn't a ton of backlash because stuff happens, it is what it is. But
Agreed.
when the NBA had him go to this therapy, they brought him back and they did all this, and then he did it again. At that point, you're making the NBA look bad, and that's where things look really bad.
Plus, it's also kind of funny. Like, he's the only guy that's showing off a gun on Instagram.
Yeah, it's like, I understand people come from different backgrounds; they feel compelled to do different things. But at some point, like, it's like you got to just know you're in a position where you can't really do that.
And this is kind of a somewhat biased thing, but it's only because we deal with him so much and we know so much about him. What do we know about Jason Tatum? Nothing. We know he has a kid.
We know he's dating LMA.
Well, that's the thing. Do we? Well, we do, but he even keeps that secret. Did you see the thing on Twitter?
He's a very private guy. I did, yes.
Yeah, where Brett Hampton came out was like, delete this, and then the guy.
He's a very private guy, and you have to respect the privacy, especially because he's a pretty normal dude for the most part, right? He just chills. He loves his kid. He maybe is in a relationship. He does a lot of endorsements, and he likes Boston, right? Like, and that's all he really asks for.
He truly does seem to like it here.
Agree. But Ja Morant, how long do you think he's suspended for next season?
I don't know.
I think half the year, at least.
Should they suspend him? Like, what do you think?
Yeah. You can't not suspend him at this point. My thing is, you suspended him for the first time for 8 games. And so how would you not suspend him? Exactly. So how would you not suspend him again? And again, rat move for Adam Silver.
I get, you have to punish these guys.
The fact that he said we've uncovered additional evidence makes it seem like this might be worse than we know. And again, saying we don't want to take away from these guys, but we're going to do it anyways. Just rat move by Adam Silver also. So
weird. I don't know. I wonder what he did. I wonder what Ja did.
Who knows? But
this is a weird one.
Speaking of Adam Silver being on the rat list, let's get to the rat list here.
Yes.
Oh, rat list. There's the guy. No one came up with a name for the rat list guy.
We'll
I'm kind of disappointed. Matt the Rat.
Matt the OG, originator of the rat term. I think he deserves the.
That's fair. And you know, it rhymes too, so it works. Matt the Rat, welcome. Would you like to kick off the rat list? I don't think I have anything off the top of my head, but
yeah, I can.
So go ahead.
Rat list. Caleb Martin. Caleb Martin on the rat list. You know why? Because Caleb Martin all of a sudden wants to play like Caleb Martin when he's not playing the Celtics. Kind of bullshit. Don't appreciate
That's
it.
Whack.
Maybe should have shot 1 of 7 in Game 7. That would have been kind of cool. I would have appreciated that. Also,
rat
rat
being
list,
the best player.
To tie into this, J. Cole. Because J. Cole was the one that got Caleb Martin on the Heat. Caleb Martin was borderline out of the league. J. Cole called. Was like, you guys could sign this guy, and Caron Butler was like, okay, we'll sign him.
You called who? You cut out for
Caron Butler.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. And then they signed him. So I might have to boycott J. Cole.
Do you listen to J. Cole regularly?
Yes.
Really? What's your favorite J. Cole song?
Wet Dreams.
Okay. So older stuff. Fair. Okay.
I like the song with 21 Savage. I think I get a kick out of every time I hear 21 Savage. I get a kick out of him. I don't know why. I just feel like I always just think 21 Savage is funny.
Well, there you go. Easy. My rat list. I did have something briefly, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
I have
rat
more
list.
If you need.
I'll rat list the weather because I was supposed to go to the Red Sox with Cam Tabatabai and Bobby Kravitsky of the
that's
Sports
right
Illustrated in Celtics Lab, and it got rained out. But
Did
to make matters worse, no, it got scheduled for Monday, so we're going Monday.
Okay.
But what's worse, when it's raining / thundering lightning, they don't let anybody in the seats, and so everybody who was at the game was just in the concourse, but it was so backed up. I don't know if I assume you've been to Fenway. there's
I went last
sections-
time.
Yeah,
The
there's
last time we did a pod,
sections-
I literally put Red Sox fans on the rat list
Why were they on the rat list for you?
because they're aimlessly just wandering around the concourse.
So do you know the section of Fenway where obviously there's these big vendors, it opens up, but then there's these little hallways that get you from sector to sector.
Has the
right?
logo,
Skinny
all the Red Sox
Yeah,
logos.
yeah.
Yes.
That exact one. It was so backed up. We were stuck in that little section in a crowd for 30 minutes. Standing there, like trying to walk. I was in a sweatshirt because it was raining and I didn't have room to take it off, sweating my ass off. It was terrible. A lady behind me goes, "Watch where you're going. There's kids here." I'm like, I don't know where you want me to fucking walk, dude. Like, we're all stuck here like sardines. Where do you expect me to go? Somebody's coming the other way saying, "Move." Like, what are you doing the other way? I have somebody in a wheelchair.
I think everybody
everyone's
should
like,
be allowed to carry like one of those canisters of silly string.
just spray 'em
Because
when
you
you're
could
being
have
an
like
ass.
silly stringed that lady and she really
Well,
gets no harm,
and then-
but the message is sent.
People coming the other way with a guy in a wheelchair saying, "Move out of the way. What are you doing?" And it's like, as much as we'd like to get out of the way, we literally cannot move. What would you like us to do? Right? Like,
Yes.
have some like awareness. Like, I'm sorry. I'd love to get out of the way for you. I'd love to not run into these children that are trying to walk. I cannot move anywhere. So I don't know why you're yelling at me. Yell at everybody. Yell at the people working for not giving any updates, for not helping, for not putting people like it was terrible. That the rat list, the Red Sox, absolutely. That's I'm glad I thought of that again.
Yeah. Okay. Rat list, guy at the drive-in. Went to the drive-in yesterday, saw Spider-Man. I enjoyed it. I thought I guess it's released in 2 parts, and I
Which
felt like
Spider-Man
they-
is this?
into the Spider
Spider-Verse?
or across the Spider-Verse.
Okay, and then Beyond the Spider-Verse is next year. That's
Yeah, I
wild.
didn't realize it was like a 2-part thing. So like I was like, wow, like it just feels like I watched a TV show and I have to wait for a new episode to drop.
A year later. You have to wait a
Yes.
year.
Yeah, I didn't
That's
like that.
tough.
But
That's a rat move.
guy at the drive-in just has his headlights on.
Oh, no shot.
Like it was like it wasn't the whole time, but it was like for like
That's
a good
awful.
10, 15 minutes, and then they had to come over and tell him to stop.
Did he stop willing? Did he
Yeah,
know
he
he
did.
had them on?
It was sprinkling. My hypothesis was that he had to turn on his wipers, and anytime he turns on
accidentally-
his
okay.
car, the lights go on. Like he has a car with auto lights, maybe.
Okay. And you don't think maybe he just didn't realize?
That was the only justification that I could have.
That's a
for
rat
that.
move, though. You can't do that. That's bad. That's definitely bad. What do I got for rat list? I don't do much. I just sit in my house and write articles all day. This is tough. I don't I don't get into doing much. I feel like I took the red line in to the T, so I have to assume there was something there. Not necessarily rat list, just maybe unfortunate. I wore Crocs and I lost 2 gibbets.
To what?
Gibbets. 1 second.
Is that the thing you put in the holes?
Yeah, so I started the day with 8 and I ended with 6. These are my gibbets.
Oh no.
I wore them for Red Sox because it's a red theme, but I lost a Spider-Man one. Actually, I had,
Well, it's
and I lost a red Pac-Man ghost. And so
You're
I
kind
lost
of a
2
rat
gibbets.
for the Spider-Man loss.
I know. I didn't mean to.
That
It
was
just
the one
fell
you
off
should
somewhere.
protect out of all of them. The best
I'll
one.
order a new one. It's all right. I ordered a new one. Lightning McQueen.
Anti-rat list, reverse rat list.
Mhm.
Foxwoods. Foxwoods gave me $250.
Yeah, let's go. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
I was just sitting there playing blackjack, and they just kept giving me money.
Phenomenal.
Everybody should just go to the casino and gamble. It's like going to the bank.
You love to see it. You love to see it. Rat list. I'm just gonna put the red line on the rat list. They didn't really do anything to me, but I just don't like the red line because they're super slow. They deserve a permanent home, and I think every once in a while I just need to remind the people that the red line goes on the rat list.
Okay.
I
Very fair.
just think it's important for it to be known that the red line deserves to be on the rat list. Rat list people who don't walk up the escalator.
Oh, this
Actually-
is a good one.
Let me rephrase. It is fine to not walk up the escalator, but there needs to be one side for people who don't want to walk up the escalator and the other side for people who would like to walk up the escalator. If you are the person where you're seeing everybody in front of you walk on your side, but you are standing, rat. There has to be some order. Also,
It's funny you brought this up.
again, and
because-
we can go back to the, yeah, we'll talk about the escalator. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny you brought this up because I went to Foxwoods tonight. Of course, I won the money. But
Mhm.
I also went to go see a comedy show. I saw Sam Morril. He was excellent. You guys should check him out. It was fun. He had the same sneakers on as me. He had my Jordans.
There you go.
But my buddy Tyler and I are in the outlets because we were looking to go to this candy shop, but it was closed. But I'm walking up the escalator. He's like, "Wow, you're an up the escalator walk guy," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm an efficiency guy. That's what I'm all about."
You gotta walk up the escalator.
It's just funny that you mentioned that.
It's okay. Like I said, it's okay to stand on it. I've stand on it before, but you got to leave a lane for the people who want to go. You have to. It's just respectable. Also, the reason it got so stuffed up, this might be one of the like top 10 most annoying like minor inconveniences. Walk on the right-hand fucking side of the hallway, you idiots.
Yes,
it's just like driving.
You Fenway.
Don't drive. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, Fenway. They were all walking all over the place.
Horrible.
That's right. That's why I said last time we should all get 3 shoves a day.
Awful, just terrible. The people who walk, while doing other things, talking, "Hey, I'm walking this way on my phone." Stop. If you're not good at multitasking, don't do it.
I think walkers should be able to get tickets.
Yeah, people who are or alone or in their own group, and they see you with other people, and they think it's their turn, and they cut you off from your own group, and they're also cutting themselves off from their group. There's a lady that walked in between me and Cam and Bobby, and I was like walking, and she got separated from her husband. She turned around a second later, looks around, and like stops and lets me go past her. I'm like, then why'd you walk in front of me in the first place, you idiot? Like, what are we doing here? I just don't understand how stupid some people.
You just need to get jacked so you can just like strong, like stiff arm people.
Well, I'm 6'1". I'm
set like a solid brick wall screen.
I mean, I'm maybe not a brick wall, but I'm a heavy enough guy. Well, they can't really walk into me, but I'm not gonna. It's just this like 5'2" woman. I'm not gonna bowl her over. What do you want me to do? I'm not an animal. Come on. Yeah, people who walk on the left side.
Also, Ratless,
left side, horrible.
People that go to the gas station, but they don't pull up. So there's 2 pumps, and they park at the first pump instead of going all the way up to the second pump.
That's a great call. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I had to like do like a U-turn to get into the back of one of the pumps yesterday because I went to get gas.
That's bad. You can't.
That was a quick one, but I was very annoyed.
No, that's a good call. That's a good call. I think that's about all I have. Yeah, that's all I got for Ratless. That was a good Ratless though. I didn't have much, and then I thought of a bunch of stuff.
It's like it's cathartic. You're just like, oh yeah, this pissed me off this week.
Absolutely, it was good. That felt good. But excuse me, I think that'll do it for us today. I'm dying. I still have this thing in the back of my throat. Ratless in my throat. You heard this last time too. I try to mute whenever I cough. I do a bad job at it, but if you're on YouTube, you can see me like coughing. Like
I do a bad job at just hacking up the lung.
My point is sometimes you hear coughs, but like the big ones, like Sam will see me, I mute, and I just like am dying on camera, and you see it on YouTube too. But I need to get it checked out. I don't know what it is. I think I have post nasal drip, but that was like 5 years ago, and they were just like, yeah, it'll go away, and it just never did. But I also need.
I've had shit in my throat for 2 years, so
it's tough. It's brutal. But anyways, thank you for listening to the podcast. We appreciate you very, very much. We'll throw this back on to remind you, how about them Celtics is where you're at. It's a big change from the gray to the green, but check us out.
Every time we do this, the channel just looks so much more like powerful.
It's good. I like it. I like this.
I always thought it looked kind of light and like pale, and then we throw on the gray and put it back, and we're like, oh my God.
Comparatively, though, it does change. But make sure to check out the YouTube channel, subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 this summer. And yes, Landon, if we get to 1,000, you will get your Ratless merch with Matt the Rat on it. So hit the sub button. We appreciate it very much. Check out daily reaction videos every day. You guys have seemed to like the first 2 of Handsome Guys Talk Hoops. I tried my best with the editing and the intro. We think it's very fun.
Whoever said that our moms came up with the name was excellent.
I saw that. I was just going to say that. Great comment. You know what? Let me look. I'll give the commenter some credit here. Let me take a look real quick. But thank you very much for tuning in to the reaction videos. We appreciate the support on those. Like I said, we're trying to get to 1,000 subs. We're at 459 right now. We would appreciate the support if you're looking at this or even a long-term viewer or short-term viewer, whatever it is. Shout out Joey Spatulas who said the mom comment. We appreciate you, Joey. Joey actually saying it was a good episode. So thank you for viewing. But also, like I always say, if you're on Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us 5 stars there. That really helps us in the algorithm. Leave us a review if you're on Apple or even Spotify. I don't know if they do reviews on Spotify, but we appreciate it very much. Leave a 5-star review. But if you want to be mean to us, go do it in the YouTube comments. Thank you very much. I'll let Sam wrap us up.
Hey, yes. If you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate it. First things first. Second, subscribe, leave a like. Hit the notification bell so you get all of our new content. It is daily right now. You're getting new stuff 5 a.m. every day this summer. We're keeping busy, so you don't want to miss out. These reaction videos are short. We're not asking a lot. We're like the cool teachers that are like, yeah, we're giving you homework, but only a little bit.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
You can leave comments on all our stuff. We love to read them. Again, we just shouted out that comment there. That was excellent. On top of that, if you're listening, those reaction videos are, again, exclusive to YouTube, so you're going to want to come here to watch them. But if you're just listening to the pod, make sure you leave us a nice review, a nice comment, and follow the pod on whatever streaming service it is you're using. Plus, if you want to follow our socials at How About Them C's, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook is just the name of the podcast. If you want more of Jack, his Twitter is at JackSimoneNBA. If you want more of me, you can see me tweet about my sneakers at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us.
Taco, come on.
Taco's having some fun here.
That is bogus. These guys are ridiculous.